Thank you. Senator Wicker.
Thank you very much. Well, I really appreciated the testimony today. I appreciate Mr. Capozzi talking about the need for improving access to people with disabilities. Reverend Latham, you're absolutely right. I'm very, very interested in better recruiting and more successful recruiting from the HBCUs. So thank you very much. It should surprise no one that I really want to talk about Gulf Coast Rail. And Mr. Primus and Mr. Fuchs in the audience, thank you for allowing me to testify before the STB. There have been hearings, 11-day evidentiary hearing. And then in May, STB members expressed disappointment with the level of detail and analysis offered and gave the parties additional discovery time. Do you have better information and better detail now? Do you have what you need, Mr. Primus?
The simple answer in my mind is I hope so. I mean, we are still evaluating the information that was just presented to us very recently. In my mind, honestly, you know, I understand the frustration in the delay of even our decision, and we are working expeditiously to try and get to that conclusion. I think in terms of asking for this additional information, we needed to be sure what was being presented on both sides really, you know, rose to the level that was acceptable and meritorious that we could review. I mean, and that's why we're at the point now.
Okay, I may intrude on my time, but I usually don't do that, Madam Chair. There's been an STB ordered mediation. I understand that's going to be extended. Is that correct?
All the parties asked for the mediation. So before there was objection, but all parties asked for mediation, and so.
And I wonder how long that period will be extended.
I believe 30 days.
Okay, and do you know, I'm treading a fine line here, and I do not want to get into how you will decide on this issue. So that's for the board to decide. But do you think there's good progress being made? Do you have any inside information about that, or is that being done completely outside of the hearing and information of the members of the board?
You know, Ranking Member Wicker, I wish I could give you the answer I'd like to give you, but I hear the bell ringing from my general counsel a few blocks away that, you know, right. I'm not allowed to comment on the progression.
Okay, well then
I guess where we're going. I mean, and again, I don't mean to interrupt. I know, you know, how important it is to you, because it's important to the members of the board to see this issue through. And so what I can assure you is that we are working as hard as we can and as expeditiously as we can to come to a conclusion.
Okay. Now let me shift then to Chairman Kosha. There are sort of two schools of thought that might occur to advocates for Gulf Coast Rail and for the larger issue. One would be to see the litigation out, which would involve not coming to an agreement, but trying to get everything you possibly can under the law as you understand it. That would then undoubtedly be appealed, go to court. In the meantime, we would still be without rail service, Alabama, Mississippi, and Louisiana. The other would be to make sure there is a reasonable settlement that gets the public what they need, but leaving longer-term precedent issues to be fought over at another time, at another day, on another route. So would you comment about that? And I think you realize probably from my question which solution I would prefer.
Yeah, I would say this.
Amtrak's mission, in many ways, is actually very simple. We're in the mobility business. We're supposed to get people from one point to another point. We're supposed to do it safely, efficiently, and hopefully affordably. And Amtrak can do something incredible for the nation by providing that service to as many people as possible. So in response to your question, you may find this surprising, but I actually agree with you that the latter approach should be the right approach, and that if there is a solution that can be offered in the nearer term that would allow us to provide that service and restore the Gulf Coast service sooner, we should avail ourselves to that. Having said that, we also need to protect the broader mission that we have to the nation to try to utilize the underutilized freight rail assets that are out there that could give us the opportunity to serve a much broader cross-section of the nation. It is interesting to point out, and you may have heard this before, but the United States actually has a much greater amount of rail infrastructure measured by miles than even countries like China and most European countries, and people would think the opposite. We just don't use it fully enough. And so in many ways, the Gulf Coast issue is very much about utilizing an asset that we already own, we can put into service, and it can improve the quality of lives of people today. So yes, if there is an opportunity to bring the dispute over Gulf Coast service restoration to a head, I would certainly be very much in favor of doing it, even if it left additional issues to be resolved at a later point.
If my friend and chair would indulge me, it is a fact, is it not, that this has been the statutory model for 51 years, and that the Congress, in its wisdom, decided well before the chair and I got here to relieve the freights from their obligation to carry passenger rail, and instead to have this balance where Amtrak was entitled to use the freight rail lines under the jurisdiction of the STB and the statutory law.
Well, Ranking Member, all I can tell you is that I have been a lawyer for almost 40 years, and I've been blessed during that career to work on some fairly interesting and novel topics. I don't, for the life of me, understand how our preference rights have been so easily not observed by some of the host freight railroads. So I think that this issue of restoring Gulf Coast is really about adherence to a preference right that exists, in my mind, clearly in the law, and that was intended, as you accurately point out, to relieve the freight railroads of a costly obligation to carry passengers, because that mobility service was something that the federal government felt was important to maintain, and so therefore it took on that responsibility itself, but made it a condition of relieving them of that financial responsibility to provide that preference.
Is the mediation going well?
I haven't been a direct party to the mediation, but I would tell you that we are certainly doing everything in our power to try to move people by train and not argue over the law, because that is far more important to us.
Thank you very much.